Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to our DevOps and Test Automation seminar. We'll be beginning shortly and let people get in and see what we are up to. And you're gonna have 45 minutes to 1 hour of us, me and Yanni, talking about DevOps and Test Automation here. Just checking the state of the stream. Everything looks good. I'm gonna give you a couple of minutes, maybe 1 minute to join up, and then we'll go. Hope that you guys find this topic interesting, and we've had quite a lot of sign-ups at least. So hoping to provide you guys with some new information on what's going on with DevOps and test automation, and what me and Yanni think about the topic, at least.
Yeah, if we need to find something good of the situation is that these information sharing things are getting more and more common and people are utilizing those.
Yeah, and like finding new platforms and finding new ways actually to present, not just having the slides, but actually seeing our faces even and making it a bit more friendly. And like, I think even our shows have gotten more and more professional. So thanks to everybody on our team for doing that.
And hopefully the amount of information is increasing all the time now, so because everybody has the ability to see these streams. And
yeah, you do not have to fly out to some conference somewhere, I don't know, Hawaii or some island somewhere that not many people can afford to get into or something. But everybody can join in on a YouTube stream.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, I think we've let two minutes for people to join in, and we can kind of start. So hello, everybody. My name is Henri Terho. I'm the Chief R&D Evangelist, whatever that means. I lead some of our R&D efforts, but also I'm responsible for a lot of these streams and telling people about DevOps and test automation and cloud-based test automation and all of the good stuff that we think is good. And hopefully we can share some of our experience. Yanni Haapala is our DevOps architect, a really cool guy also.
Hello. Mostly feeling that kind of jack of all trades, but this classic master of none.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of what happens if you start talking about DevOps and test automation. You have to know a lot of other stuff also, but I'd say you're a master of test automation also, so not a master of none. What we're going to talk about today is a little bit of where are we from, what's the company, and what are we talking about? What is DevOps? This is kind of like a controversial, no, not controversial, but kind of like a mixed topic on what does DevOps actually mean, and we'll give you one standard of what DevOps actually means, and then we'll talk about why we think DevOps and test automation is actually important. We'll try to condense it into three main points on why it is important and what's the important part in DevOps, and why we think DevOps is an iteration philosophy and test automation complements it really well. And then on the end, we'll give you kind of like our view on how we can do some DevOps and test automation using our cloud product called Qentinel base, but we'll be mostly focusing on just talking about DevOps and what the heck is DevOps and what's going on. We have comments on the YouTube side, so you can put in comments there, and we'll answer your comments. Maybe if you have you can at any point ask anything. We're going to try to keep this conversational and talk through many of the points. So if you have any questions on that side, don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to comment. Okay, small tidbit on the company. Qentinel is a quality intelligence company. We don't call ourselves testing or DevOps company. We are a quality intelligence company because that's what we do. We want to give you the best intelligence and data on how your product is actually doing, and how can you make your product even better with all the intelligence that we can provide based on your quality, be it through testing or be it through analytics. We are currently based on 3 different countries: Finland, USA, and Germany. So we have our experts on those 3 countries, and then building our product on all of that. So contact us on any of those locales, and we'll be happy to help you guys out. We also have our product page.qentinel.com now on free trial, so anybody can go ahead and try it out and see what we're up to. But getting into the main topic of today's webinar is what the heck is DevOps? And I think Yanni has had a lot of stuff to say about the topic.
Yeah, I feel that this is something that we need to go through first of all, since especially nowadays, DevOps is still quite of a hype word, and I feel that it's a funny acronym that nowadays means anything and nothing for anybody and nobody. So basically, everybody is defining their own meaning of DevOps, and they're trying to extend the DevOps for their own concept and context. And for example, when reading this material from web or books about DevOps, it's funny to see that people are always trying to add these small add-ons to DevOps. So it's kind of DevSecOps or DevBizOps or DevQAOps or DevHROps or Dev you name it ops. And I feel that it's not a bad thing, but that's just enforcing the point of view that you have, and focuses on the problem that each person is having with the DevOps and trying to solve with the DevOps.
And I think it also tells you a lot about the popularity of the DevOps concept, and that people are kind of trying to put it into all of the different contexts that is possible, because of the fact that it's taken off in the software industry and taken the software industry by a storm. Basically, it's everywhere now. It's kind of I wouldn't want to say new agile, but it's kind of the new agile wave coming in. Everybody wants to do DevOps in the same way that everybody wants to do agile.
Yeah, I think that there's a place for each of these methodology, like agile or safe or something like that. If you have a specific problem, you should try methodologies that focuses on those problems. And for me, kind of this DevOps, it focuses around software creation or software solution creation. So it's kind of creating world-class customer solutions and also owning those from development to operation. And that's kind of the context that I want to put DevOps.
Yeah. And I think that's also in the name. It's development and operations, which is the kind of focus in there that what we are doing.
Yeah, by all means, I don't say that you shouldn't use DevOps on HR, for example. If you have some software on HR that you can utilize these software-centric methodologies, then I think that it's a good fit. But for me, I mean, the most important thing in DevOps, especially focusing on this automation, is that it's continuous experimentation and learning with the focus of automate everything. So basically, that's maybe the one sentence that I can put the DevOps that I feel that the DevOps is.
Yeah, but without diluting it, as you said, automate everything. We don't want to focus on the everything, as that kind of dilutes the whole thing. But we want to focus on development and operations, that we want to automate on this thing. It's more about the focus than on the actual technologies also.
Yeah, even
what
though
we want to do is we want to automate verification, we want to automate packaging, we want to automate releasing, we want to automate configuring, we want to automate monitoring, we want to automate even planning, and maybe even automate creation.
Yeah, the more you automate these tedious repeating tasks, the more you can focus on the real things and try to get these experimentations and try to do these learnings and try to find out new ways to deliver this value faster through this software.
Yeah. And kind of get the speed benefits out of automation is, I think, what's the kind of main focus on DevOps, that you automate all the tedious things to get the speed out of it, and kind of help you, I'm going to say dirty word, standardize the automation processes that you're going to do with it. I think it's one of the things that's kind of sometimes forgotten with DevOps. It's also about standardization of that automation.
And for example, like we have the picture here, this DevOps infinity wheel. I think that this is something that most of the people have seen many times. And if you look this wheel through this automation, I can find places for automation for each stages of this wheel. So definitely I feel that automation is a big enabler to get this wheel running.
Yeah, and kind of get it to be standardized, that you do not change, for example, verifications on each pass of the loop, but you have the same stuff baked into the automation working every time.
Yeah, that's true. Because just continue. Yeah, this loop. I feel that nowadays this automation, it's the new company DNA. I mean, employees are coming and going, and methodologies are changing and everything. But when you codify something, you kind of write the DNA down, and you write the rules down that how things should work, or how should you work on how, and how should the processes work, and so on. So that's kind of some DNA that the company will get, even though everything is changing around them.
That's actually a really good point about the company DNA, that when you codify something in the automation structure, in the same way that you codify something in the source code of your application, it kind of is the way that your company has done things and will do things, and that's not just the product. It's all about the whole infrastructure around it and how do you do it. And I think that's also why you talk a lot about DevOps being a culture also, as it kind of codifies some parts of your culture into the automation architecture.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the link for the culture, because you now define on the code that what your culture should be and how should you behave on certain cases. For example, making reviews, getting people to comment your code, or making good things or quality stuff that's then codified on that pipeline.
Yeah, that's a very good point on that one.
Yeah, so definitely it is a culture thing, even though we are talking lots about technology here, but the technology again and automation here is the enabler for the culture also.
Yeah. So we are automating the codification of culture through technology. So it's both.
Ooh, that's a harsh statement, but
Yes. Uh, uh, Looking at the next thing that you're saying, we're talking about a lot of DevOps, but then the other focus of this webinar was also about test automation. And this is your strong point, that you're saying that there can be no DevOps without test automation. I feel that this is a bit more controversial statement.
yeah, this is a bit rough statement, and I'm pretty sure that there are lots of people there that don't kind of agree with me. But let me explain a bit that why I said this, that the test automation is initial part or crucial part of DevOps, is that I have seen that when I have been in the company seeing their DevOps journeys and trying to help them with the DevOps journey, is that test automation is always some kind of catalyst for the whole thing. In the beginning, test automation is something that is very easy to do as a side project, or do something as a hobby project on the company. So it's something that you can start to do without affecting the actual software production there. But sooner than you think, you already find that when you give the little finger to the devil, you have been handed the whole hand. So when you start to have test automation, you start to need environments. Then you start to need infrastructure as code. Then you start to need CI/CD, and you need this and that, and then you just realize that you have lots of automation in many places, and mostly everything starts with the humble task of automating some testing.
That's kind of what we were talking about, this DNA. Testing is basically validation and asking the kind of question that, does this work the way that we wanted to specify it, or we want to do it? And I think that's also one big part of the Agile, that it says that we don't really have too deep specs. But actually what we are doing is we are codifying those specs in small tidbits into code. So what we're doing is we are breaking up those monolithic specs into smaller pieces and codifying them inside the kind of review, static test, unit test layout of your automation and testing. Would that make sense?
Yeah, and need to do a bit of explaining also about this test automation pyramid that we have the picture here. I mean,
I kind of skip forward. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I mean, you might also disagree with me the layout about this pyramid, because if you Google the test automation pyramid, it normally starts with the unit tests. But I want to extend the idea beyond the unit tests, because the test automation and the feedback that automated testing is giving, that's something that you should utilize. I mean, it's not just an acceptance testing, and it's not just integration or unit testing. It's many other kinds of testing, and you should start it already before this unit testing, because the test automation is the fastest way of getting feedback of your doing. So you should soon start to utilize the test automation in all stages of software creation.
Yeah.
So that's why it's always also a catalyst for DevOps, that when you have the test automation, for example, in acceptance testing, you can start to need and want the test automation for these other parts also, and you start to increase the speed of all of these stages. And soon, all of these, to be able to run the automated tests, you need the other kind of automation also, and you have been automated everything.
Yeah, actually, one core topic that came into my mind is that can you explain why is this a pyramid? Why it's not, for example, a column or something? Why is it shaped like this? This is something that.
Yeah, that's the idea, that the lower that you do the testing, the cheaper it's it's cheaper to create the test, and it's cheaper to run the test. So basically, your testing kind of skyline, or this look, should be like a pyramid. So you have lots of verifications on the bottom layer and only few on the higher level, because on the higher level, the amount of infrastructure and environment you need, it goes exponentially up. So it's much cheaper and faster to verify those on the lower levels. So you should try to push this shift left mentality here also, that you try to push all this testing to the far left end also.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. That nowadays the acceptance testing and all of that requires a lot of automation, a lot of architecture to get it done right. Maybe that's something that even our company kind of is trying to alleviate. I'd even say that we are trying to shape the pyramid into a column in a sense nowadays. If you think about what we are doing, we are wanting to automate a lot of the creation of the test automation infrastructure around it. But let's see how our business goes. We'll try to make an obelisk out of the pyramid.
Okay, yeah.
This is totally new sales concept that just came into my mind about a product. Let's
you should work on that.
maybe. Yeah. But yeah, the kind of idea that you based a lot of the stuff on the lower level testing and maybe in validation and maybe even shared concepts is a lot cheaper than building all of the automation on top of it. If you don't have that kind of stuff already in place, again, automating that kind of not good culture will not help you too much.
Yeah, especially in these lower levels, it's cheap to add the automation, and that enforces then the culture of DevOps, and it enforces the way to do things.
And looking at the talking about the culture and looking about the stuff that we want to enforce, these are the kind of 3 pillars that we were discussing that it would be the main points that we want to enforce on the DevOps culture, and what we feel are like the most important bits of DevOps, keeping it built on top of lean principles also.
Yeah, this might be quite trivial for many listeners there, but to go briefly through this, that the DevOps as a methodology, it bases on the lean principles, and it has these 3 kind of founding pillars on top of lean, and they define the pillars to be flow, feedback, and continuous learning. And on those pillars is the methodology of DevOps built. And like I said, that this test automation is a must on the DevOps. I also see it here, that to enable this flow, you need to have some kind of, test automation is automatic controls also. So you cannot have fast flow without any controls, or you have this train wreck going. So basically, to enable this flow, you need to have these proper automatic controls on place. And also for this feedback, feedback equals testing. So fast continuous feedback equals continuous automated testing. So definitely that is test automation is a solid part of the feedback, but also this continuous learning, because DevOps is based on lean, and many might know this lean concept of this PDCA cycle, and many might have seen the picture of having this PDCA cycle going uphill, and you have the wedge under the wheel so that the wheel don't fall down. And I feel that this testing, and especially this automated regression testing, that's the wedge that keeps you falling down when you learn something and go forward.
Yeah. Can you quickly just go through the PDCA? What's the PDCA stand for some of the listeners that I don't know?
Yeah, there's a lean methodology of plan, do, check, act. So basically, you plan some experiment, you do the experiment, and then you check that what was the result of the experiment, and then you act according to the result. And if the finding was positive, you kind of then add that to your workflow and then go again that flow, this cycle.
Yeah, and I think that was good discussion that we had previously also on the fact that the testing maybe shouldn't be called testing in the sense that we're doing, but it's kind of like codified specification even, that we could say in there, that you have codified some of the parts in there and you want to test out some part of your spec and your actual application against the users or against the testing to get the feedback on if some parts of your application or some features actually work the way you want them to work. And even on top of that, there's the next phase, that have you actually developed the right things? Have you done the right feature? Then the same kind of continuous learning and continuous feedback cycles, but they come from production. And I think that's also the other side of DevOps, that you can quickly deploy in a safe way features into production, that you then know that those will work because of your test automation and codified kind of like specs. But then on top of that, you can easily test out also your business or the new features also, that are they actually working the way that you want to, and is somebody even actually using them? And that kind of also got some data from the operations side, so you know if somebody is using your new features and actually liking them, for example. So you can actually quickly iterate your whole product, not just your basically like technology stack.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the tests are playing huge role there. They are your runnable specifications then, or codified learnings, how do you want to call them? I mean, I use those quite often in interchangeabilities, so that it's mostly runnable specifications, but you can say codified learnings also, that shows and it keeps on the records that what have you tried and why it works like it works.
Yeah, and as you said, that I think test automation isn't to say that the wedge behind the PDCA, that you don't go backwards and you can iterate forward in a strong way and getting new features out. And for example, one really major company, which I think many have heard from, is Facebook, that they had this principle of fail fast. And they started with this, like iterating super fast on these different features to get the continuous learning and get the feedback fast. But what they also then realized at some point, that this doesn't work on the scale that they are doing. So they changed it to a bit of a different statement. I don't remember the initial part. I think it's iterate fast with stable infrastructure. So this is the kind of same idea that we are talking about here with the DevOps, that we want to enable fast iteration with stable infrastructure, so that you can iterate in a really fast way.
That fail fast is actually interesting, that there are too many companies still that feels that if something is failing, it's a bad thing. I mean, the whole mentality should be flipped around nowadays, that it's okay to fail if you fail fast. And it's actually good if you fail fast, because you found a new way that the product doesn't work. And wasn't just the Facebook or another company that they're actually celebrating when somebody managed to fail something, if that happens fast, because that's a reason to celebrate, because you didn't spend too much time for that, or won't be spending much more money on that, because you found out a thing that doesn't work. I too often hear this, that you need to get things right at the first time, and that's wrong.
If I could get every single thing right the first time, I'd be on the same scale as Elon Musk or somebody else out there doing of things. But that's not the way that real work works. And even he's failed a shitload of times. Oh, sorry. But that's the kind of thing that you learn from those experiments. They're not kind of mistakes, but they are experiments that you learn from that didn't work, and then you can proceed to the next phase.
Yeah. People as a species is such that it only learns from failing, so you need to have those failures to learn something.
Yeah, negative feedback is a lot stronger in humans than positive feedback, actually.
Yeah, that's true.
I just noticed that Jarno asked a question about the testing triangle, having reviews at the bottom and accept testing at the top of it, and how does our product somehow can our product help with other stages than just the acceptance testing? I'll demo some parts of it in the beginning, but yes, we can help with the other parts also by bringing in a lot of data visible from all the other steps. And you can also run some unit tests and some load tests and other kind of tests also in the platform that we have. Not main focus is just generally talking about DevOps on this webinar, but I'll demo the product also in the end, so you know what's the kind of context for all of this DevOps talk that me and Jani are talking about. Looking at the next slide, we had the DevOps iteration philosophy about this validating quickly, that we were a bit going into. What does it actually mean to validate quickly and iterate quickly?
And for me, I mean, this is just a general picture about some CI pipeline. So basically, how to make a CI pipeline, and that's kind of not the point now on this slide, how to actually make a CI pipeline. But for me, this iteration philosophy, the part of this philosophy is that automation brings this coordinated rigidity also to the processes. So to get something to the production, it means that you need to fulfill all of these steps, and these steps needs to happen fast, and each of these steps are responsible of providing certain kind of feedback to the development team or the stakeholders or customers. And when you get this wheel running very fast and you get the fast feedback, you also start to get these implementations fast into the production, and you start to get this customer feedback also fast back to you. But the idea is that you have this kind of codified DNA or rules. How should we put something on the production? And you follow that, and you get huge amount of feedbacks from the cycle.
And also that's something that you said give some rigidity to your framework. I think that's not a word to be scared of. In a sense, it doesn't. We want to introduce the kind of rigidity that helps you speed up and not kind of like get stuck in process and all that stuff, but kind of give you the strong base that you want and the strong, stable infrastructure to iterate quickly, basically.
And this fail fast is actually a critical part of this iteration philosophy, since now when we have organized this pipeline so that we have this very fast bottom layer of the pyramid checks on the beginning. So let's say that our static tests fail. We can also fail the whole iteration there and start it again without having to do this hugely costly release testing phase with the broken product. So basically this pipeline has the built-in fail fast mentality. So no need to go further if this fast and cheap things fail on the beginning.
Yeah, that's actually a good point that and I haven't considered that much, is that the fail fast philosophy even means that it goes down to the commit level. If you commit something and notice it failed, my test failed immediately because I forgot to commit one line or something like that. That's the fail fast culture also in action on the bottom end. It doesn't mean that you have to build a company, go bankrupt, and fail fast and make another one. It's the whole like idea of quickly validating something to get the feedback cycle to the developer, to get to the feedback to the business person, whoever it does. But with DevOps, it's to get the feedback cycle back to the developer as short as possible. And that's why, for example, static checks can be integrated directly into your like IDE, for example, in Qentinel test, which immediately tell you if you're typing something wrong. Or then when you're doing a commit, you always run the unit tests against those files that you've changed, for example, to get the feedback cycle going as fast as possible. With that, you could say rigid automation architecture.
And this is a huge enforcement for the culture also. I mean, in a good culture, one does not commit if the pipeline is red. So basically, it enforces the culture for the developers also and testers and business and whoever, that if something is broken, let's fix that first without doing anything else on top of a broken product. So basically, that's a huge mindset or cultural thing also that people are adopting with these pipelines.
Yeah, and as we are talking about culture, maybe one big part of it is learning from the culture of others. And I think we could go through a couple of real life examples that we've kind of encountered in our past lives, or not past lives, but our experiences with DevOps, developing, testing, and this kind of stuff. Couple of our experiences that we can share with the audience that hopefully can help them also.
I can start with the centralized support. That's kind of my learning. That's one thing that I have found to be maybe most useful thing when adapting DevOps is kind of to admit that you need help for that. I mean, you need a kind of function that helps you implementing all of these, because if we are talking about automated testing, we are talking automated environments, cloud environments, we are talking about infrastructure as code, we are talking about process changes, and we are talking so many new things in many places that the biggest help has been to kind of form this centralized support. And then nowadays, many have found also this. For example, if we think about Google, they use this SRE, this site reliability engineering. It's partly doing this support also. Or if you look this Scaled Agile framework, they have this support function team there, or even DevOps. DevOps is defining also this tooling team that basically offers a shoulder to cry, offer gurus to help, or offer just propeller heads to try to find a new solution or automation way to improve the flow of products. And then I've been part of this one centralized support team, and it proved to be quite beneficial for everybody, because the teams don't need to spend that much time for trying to find this solution, and also 10 teams finding 10 times the same solution. We can kind of codify and record the learning to one place that people can go and ask and see that how does it fit for their work.
Yeah, kind of having somebody, as you said, shoulder to cry on, some experienced guy helping you, maybe even from outside the company, or even from YouTube, as we are kind of doing here. To have somebody kind of help you with that kind of issues is really strong. And the other, one experience that I would like to share is this maintainability as first-class citizen. Typically, when we're talking about test automation, we've been talking a lot about this, some kind of rigidity and all of that. Is something that's typically forgotten when you start doing automation. Most of your teams start doing it in their own way. They have the best way. So this is the way that we want to do it. But at some point, the people will always change. So what rises up as one of the core topics, I think, in automation is the maintainability, which is not really talked about a lot. So when people change, as I said, it's company DNA. We want to have that automation in a maintainable state, so you don't ramp up a lot of expenses trying to figure out what's actually going on in the automation setup. You want to have a kind of standardization going on through your DNA to get it working properly, and really focus on the maintainability. And that's something that we've been focusing with Qentinel. This hasn't been really too much of a buzzword anywhere. Maintainability typically isn't a buzzword, but it's really important part of your whole test automation infrastructure and business to get the maintainability down. As many times it's over 50% of your expenses on the whole QA pipelines and all that goes to maintenance. So we really want to push that down.
Yeah, and what actually hugely helps that maintainability is to understand that maybe this third bullet of this own software product is that each automation solution is a software program. I mean, that needs an maintenance, that needs development, that needs people to keep it up and running. So basically, companies they need to start addressing these automation efforts as in software products alongside with the actual company software products, to understand that it actually takes huge amount of time and resources to create these automated solutions and also keep them running. It's basically it's an automation, it's automated, not autonomous. So basically you need somebody to run that automation constantly. It doesn't run by itself after it has created, even though it's creating huge benefits, but it has costs also.
Yeah.
And the fourth one here is this my 3 C's, meaning that, like you said, this maintainability, that teams are creating these solutions, and it's kind of a catastrophic situation if you have 10 teams that has 10 different coding languages, 10 different test automation tools, 10 different CI/CD tools, and so on and so on. So I always say that this agility, it's a coordinated cooperation, not chaos. So basically everybody needs to drive to the common goal and select the common tooling and common processes and common ways of working. It cannot be chaos that everybody just does whatever they like, because that doesn't work.
Yeah, I think that CCC is something that should be remembered in a sense, to differentiate between the fact that we are trying to do something coordinated here, but we also don't want to speed up everything. So the difference is between chaos and coordinated cooperation.
Yeah, because, for example, agility defines that you can select your means if you just do what is needed to do. But I would say in here, for example, if you use, let's say that you use some Java and want to change it to C++, or let's say some test automation tool, you use one and want to change to another, I would always say that it's okay to change the tool, but you need to sell it to everybody else, on the other developers also, that they want to change the tool. Because in the moment that you take another tool, you lose the synergy benefit that everybody knows how to work with the tool and how to use the tool and how to be productive with the tool.
Yeah. So from these real life learnings, I think we could jump into something that's also in the real life, which is the kind of like product side that we did. We've had a lot of great discussion about the DevOps as a philosophy and DevOps as a concept, but something that also I cannot speak anymore as I've been speaking for 35 minutes. You always got to show something concrete. For example, we want to show a demo of something that we've been building and we've been developing a way to actually codify easily all of the stuff that we've been doing and really help you with the DevOps side of things. So I'm going to show you a demo of the Qentinel Pace, two sides of it. There's the analytics side, showing you data from all parts of your software pipeline, kind of helping you see and get the immediate feedback of what's going on. And then I'll show you how we can, on the other side of the product, how you can actually easily deploy tests on Qentinel Pace and create quick, fast ways to do end-to-end testing in there on the cloud environment, just to show you. Let me share the right screen. There's too many windows going on. It's typical. Where you go? It's escaping me. Okay, there it is.
Now I can see
it. Yes, good. Okay, something that we've been focusing a lot lately on Qentinel Pace is to bring visibility into what's actually going on in your software project, and we've been like really diving deep into this DevOps and DevOps value creation model. So what we've been doing is we're building through machine learning and through analytics that we've gathered from a lot of different research projects and EU research projects and all the experiences from different customers that we had, that we built a model of the actual DevOps process on the different values, that what's going on, the different phases of the actual DevOps process, and codify that into this model on the right side of the screen, that where you can see all the different phases and different values that contribute to each other. We call it the value creation model because all of these different nodes contribute value. For example, code quality is probably received from program predictability, and it results in value on approved code delivery, software build success. So kind of this model feeds back on each other. All of this data goes through the whole infinity loop and heads back to each other. But what we feel that is the most important thing in here is that none of these are like directly any kind of metrics. For example, if you look at code quality in itself is not a metric. Under that, we can inject, for example, any kind of linter data, SonarQube data. We support a lot of different integrations in that to get that data underneath it. We take that data from those best of breed applications. We are not the best in the valuing code quality, but there are a lot of different good tools and good companies doing that. We want to take that from their APIs and unify that data into an index, what we call an index between 0 and 100, to give you a quality index for your code quality, and combine all of these data in a pyramid scheme to give you this one kind of top level node, which tells you, well, your code quality is on the red or the green. So quick feedback. But I think the most important thing is when something is red. For example, here in this demo, we have release candidate quality is on the red. And you can see that it derives from technical quality, functional quality, and release candidate software security. So you can even see that, okay, functional quality isn't the source of these problems. It's actually technical quality and release candidate software security. So what we can do is we can then deep dive into those metrics that I said that exist underneath each of these nodes. And we can dive into the release candidate quality. And you can see that here in release candidate software security, there's a value of 1. This is coming from Jira. So Jira has one critical software security bug listed in there. And that results in an index value of 0 because the bottom value is 1. So if there's even one of these critical bugs in Jira, it will push this value to 0, leading to a red index. So we immediately know that that has to be fixed before we release the next kind version. Also, we can see from the technical quality that's on the red that service response time seems to be the problem. But we can also see that it's 195 milliseconds. For me, it might not say that much because I'm not developing the actual features, but those guys who've actually codified that metric in say that the target value is 100 and the bottom value is 200. So this way, I can use the expertise of my team to kind of evaluate what are the good metrics here. And what we are also doing is we want to give you the ability to use the expertise of other guys, because we are codifying all of this into a machine learning model, which can then say what are like typical default values for all of these indexes and help you validate those. And we can also do CPU usages on the red. So now I could easily say that these are the things that we have to fix. And then this whole quality propagates upwards into the like release quality value, which is 72. And we can see on the top that our current release candidate quality is 62.17. Doesn't really mean anything. The index doesn't in itself doesn't mean anything. But when you can compare it to the last release, which is 86.23, now you can see that this release is worse than the last one. So this is the kind of feedback that we can give other guys who are not deeply involved in the technical development of the actual product for your whole development cycle, to kind of keep these comparative metrics. The index in itself doesn't matter. So the same way as stock indexes in itself, the absolute number doesn't matter, but the change of that matters quite a lot. And this is the kind of operational side of our DevOps tool and Qentinel base that we are developing. There's also the test automation side, which I will go into now, which is the kind of test automation tooling side that we have. What we can do on Qentinel base is quickly test and deploy robots to create test automation suites for any kind of web project or be it local project or anything else. I created one stream test project here, which you can quickly see. And we can go into what we call robots. These are the ones that actually execute the whole tests. We can quickly, most of this stuff is, by the way, what we are basing this on is what we are actually building is an infrastructure for running, for example, robot framework as the main culprit behind the scenes. We can run any kind of robot framework tests on our cloud platform, but we also support some of the other open source test automation tools in there. For example, all of the like Gatling and XUnit that's been asking chat also are supported in Qentinel base, and we can kind of support any kind of XUnit testing also. But the main thing that we focus on is robot framework. Because robot framework is open source, and we really support the basic technology to be open source, and we want to give you the infrastructure around this. And kind of that's the idea, that what we want to do is that we can quickly spin up a test robot. We call them robots that you can give them name stream test. This tests the Qentinel home page. And what we can then select is we can select if it runs on the cloud or locally, or then we can say that it runs on the web, for example. We also support mobile testing directly from the cloud through Bitbar and Process Stack, so we can also do that, or even through your local environment with some of your local devices, if you, for example, have something. We've done a lot of IoT development and testing with this. And also one big thing that we are doing is AUTOSAR standardization also. So we want to go into the IoT sector and the automotive sector and test and provide kind of like test sets for AUTOSAR cases. So we can easily deploy the whole environment. We create a new environment called stream test, and we can quickly add tests to it. I'm going to just quickly show that you can add basically any Git repository with robot framework tests in it, but I'm going to use a starter suite to quickly demonstrate what the whole thing is about. We have now created a starter suite. It actually created us some tests in here. And this is something that we've been talking about, the maintainability, that we want the syntax to be quite easy to read and something that we can easily reason about. So if you look at these test cases, we enforce the kind of documentation and tags on each of the test cases. This is the actual test script. This is not kind of like meta level coding or anything. This is the actual executing test that we have. So what we're going to do is we're going to accept the cookie policy, change the location global, and verify the homepage text. So what's going on is that we're going to set the app state to homepage. we're going to click on the text called accept. We're going to click on the text called change location, click on a text called global, and then we're going to verify that that page contains automate software testing with Qentinel base. And then we're going to repeat the kind of same type of test case for 2 different topics. We are driven by quality and leak-times period. So we're going to test that the actual feature that you can change the locale of the actual website works. What we can do is all of this will be executed in the cloud, but we can actually run it and get a stream. Actually, can I get it easy? Now, because the focus of the log is on the actual page and not on my screen, so I cannot easily share the actual video stream of it, but you can see that there's actually streaming logs coming out of the actual cloud execution that's going in there. So you can immediately see what's going on. And all of it is executed in the cloud and not in any kind of local environment. But what we can also do is we can record a video of the run, what's actually going on in the cloud. This is typically useful for debugging cases, or with, for example, you are running some kind of new test case, so developing test case. We also have a live editor that, but I don't think we have time to show the live editor quickly on this side. But I'll quickly show you the video side of it, that we can actually store the video so you can see what I'm talking about. As it finishes the actual run. It always takes a little bit of time to save the actual video compared to just streaming the content.
This is quite fast way to start doing test automation now without having to pay any of the maintenance or infrastructure burden that you need to define those, because this runs fully on the cloud side.
Basically, you can target even with these simple tests that we have. For example, you can easily take as I said, this is now free trial, so anybody can sign in to base.qentinel.com and go and test it out and create a starter suite, and then you can easily edit this test, for example, and edit the locators which now say Qentinel.com to point to your website, and then start just mucking about with some of the keywords that are in this test case to get it to actually test your web page and test some key user paths, for example, in your site.
And the nice thing here, this in the philosophical side, is that actually now with this one test case, you have basically created runnable specifications, you have created test cases, you have created production monitoring, you have created usage instructions for somebody, basically everything with the one test case, if you utilize that one test case in many places of your software development flow.
Yeah. It wants to open the video to the other screen, so now it works. So you can see this is the actual video capture from the execution running on the server. So it actually is executing it based on the, join our next webinar, DevOps and Test Automation. Register here. Very good. Thank you for joining us, by the way. So it's actually running the test case in there. Yeah, that's the kind of platform that we want to do. And there's a lot of nice little bits. You don't have to use the cloud editor, for example. You can use whatever editor you want to and upload to JIT, and we can automatically hook the executions to your pipeline with the API that we are offering. And also we can then show you the kind of timed execution. Also what you can do is you can set them to run, for example, each day or something else. And something that we are kind of now proud of, which is the test case analytics, which seems not open because there isn't too many tests on this, so there's just the one cases in here. But what we can also do is we can analyze the whole test case sets that we have against every single test on your GitHub repo, so you can easily find out outliers or other kind of tests. If you have 10,000 of tests, it's sometimes really difficult to find, for example, if you've already done the same test somewhere else or something else. So the management of the actual test suite is something that we are really also focusing on. Okay, let's see if we have any questions.
Yeah, as a conclusion, I would say that DevOps or test automation, I mean, it's not holy ground, blessing water, or silver bullets, but definitely if you're doing something with software, it will help a lot.
Yep, I agree also. And there's one question from Shan Muganathan, hopefully saying that name close to even right. Does we support the cloud automation execution with all browsers? Yes, we do. We have, well, all is a pretty strong statement, but all the fresh and hip and cool browsers now with Chrome, Firefox, Edge, we are supporting them. And then through Browser Stack, we support a lot of other legacy versions, for example, that Browser Stack supports. So on our own images, we support the basic new browsers basically now. But through Browser Stack, you can test through all the different browsers that they have. I think they have a lot of backlog also, and a lot of like different devices, a lot of Android old browsers and that kind of stuff. So we support that also through cloud. And I think this is the thing that I think cloud is also bringing in the new wave of DevOps also, because all of the integrations and being part of that API economy, that you can tool all of your different parts of the pipeline together, automate it through APIs. I think that's going to be the next thing, that most of your development will transfer to the cloud environments. And you can always choose the best of breed applications for doing, for example, test automation. You can choose the best of breed applications to create your deployment pipelines. You can use the best of breed version control, and you can kind of pick and choose all of those and then tie them up through the APIs. And I think that's changing the software development environment a lot.
And that's actually one thing. It was good that you showed also the visualization part, since test automation by itself, I think that it's just running of test. What if you have 100,000 test cases? But then if you don't connect those to your value stream and understand that what the tests are meant for and what the tests are creating, so you need to visualize the whole flow or stream to understand the meaning of all that verification.
Yeah, and I think that's the reason why we call ourselves a quality intelligence company and not a testing company or something else. That's the core of it, that you kind of, we talk about this, you have to see what's going on, and you want to, you have to grow the sphere of awareness that what you're doing is. So you, for example, in aviation, you have this sphere of awareness that when you're flying for the first time, you're kind of looking at all of the meters, and there's oh no, there's too many metrics here, too many stuff going on. I don't really know what to do. But then your instructor says, calm down and just focus on the important bits and kind of fly the thing. But the more experience you get, and more automated the whole process gets, your sphere of awareness grows, and you have time to focus on just flying the plane and focusing on the important stuff on your metrics and kind of learning what is important. And that's the thing that we want to also do with our dashboards. The dashboards themselves learn what is important and help you, like your aviator trainer or somebody else, Bill. Okay, I think we are five or 7 minutes overtime, and I think we should be stopping the stream about now. If anybody has any questions, there's I think a couple of minutes of time to ask anything. Hopefully, you liked our ramblings on DevOps and like core values of it, how automation is the core driver to codify your culture, even though DevOps in itself is a cultural thing. So two are really marked together. So any last thoughts from Jani?
No, basically, yeah. Repeating my mantra, automating everything enables continuous learning and sustainable fast value creation. So basically, if you have fast, timely, and right feedback on your fingers, that's the key to success for anything.
Yeah, and I like the triple C's. That was really good. Easy to remember, easy to say, funny to say, so it's going to stick quite well. So that's something that I really liked on your points.
It's even better in Finnish, but I can say it in another context then.
Okay, hey, thank you everybody. Thanks Jani. And
Thanks.
If you have anything to ask later, you can always ask it on the YouTube comments. We'll be reviewing those tomorrow at least, and a couple of days further to check if there are no questions or point you to the right solutions. You can always, if you can get the contact slide visible, we can get you the contact information. You can contact me and Yanni through these emails if you have any questions, or then just go to our homepage and see what's up.
I will gladly try to explain more if you still disagree with my statements about test automation.
Statements there, so you might get some strong emails. Let's see.
That's only positive.
I guess so. Hey, thank you everybody, and have a good day, night, wherever you're signing in from, and hopefully we helped you learn something and continuously improve yourself. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.